It's working, guys. Good. I guess relatively nothing's changed in my absence. Well, Apex came out. This is kind of an interesting game. I wouldn't be streaming right now if it wasn't for Apex. I just have not had motivation, as I've described on my Twitter and Facebook. I've honestly just been doing other things in life that have been giving me a lot more in return than streaming. And streaming, as I've mentioned multiple times over the years, is something... Wow, that looks really weird. I also tinted my lenses. Not like the lenses themselves, but actually sides. That actually looks really weird. Took a Sharpie to the edges of my glasses because it was bugging the shit out of me. Light. Never get glossy edges on your glasses. They're absolutely fucking terrible. You guys can see that. Basically, I took a Sharpie, went around the edges of it, because light goes in there and it's just like shooting fucking light into your eyeballs. So I took Sharpie to it, and it actually helps immensely. Helps immensely. I mean, I don't even know why you'd want glasses without like a what do they call a rough edge? Glasses ongoing thing. I really don't even wear these. I wear my old glasses. Funny, I went and I've talked about this before. I went and got a prescription. Went to an actual optometrist, not like a big Walmart or Target or Shopko or something like that, you know, big store. I actually went to an optometrist and I got a proper prescription, and the pieces of shit glasses they gave me, just fucking terrible. I paid $600 for a pair of glasses I don't even wear right now. Yeah. Anyways, these I only wear because I'm streaming right now and it has a proper prescription. And the other pair that I wear are my old glasses, my old giant glasses, which aren't very conducive to streaming. So, yeah. I wouldn't even be playing. I wouldn't even be streaming right now if it wasn't for this game. I've watched it basically since it launched, since the hype. The first word I heard about it, I immediately posted about it. Yesterday I watched people stream it, and today watched people stream it. Yesterday I was kind of, maybe I'll try playing it. Honestly, I thought the next time I was going to stream was going to be Division 2, not the release, but I was going to do the beta. I think it's this coming weekend. However, this game came out, and initially my response was I watched Shroud play it, and Shroud is... It's kind of weird. So, video game development guys are usually goes two different directions. One, people aren't remotely creative, and they're basically, let's go the opposite direction first. One is people are too creative, and they're super, super biased. They're remotely logical with things they suggest, or rhymes or reasons for doing things. And, sometimes it can cater to doing good artwork, right? But it's not remotely related to actual game balance. And the opposite direction of it is, this is actually kind of giving me a headache because this isn't dried yet. I did this tonight because I haven't been wearing these. Sharpie is still drying, but it's right by my nose. The opposite direction of it is someone that's very logical, if you can think like a programmer, that thinks and does things in a very logical sense, that seem very reasonable or prudent to them, but they aren't really straightforward in programming. They're not programming, in creativity. They don't really have any creativity. So, Shroud is kind of in the category where he does make, when he talks about game balance, it's usually pretty good. But then he'll always try to insert his bias into things. Like, he wants everything to be Counter-Strike. And I was watching a stream on Sunday, I think after they announced it, and he mentioned that the game originally had, this is I have so much stuff I can talk about right now, guys. Oh my god, I have so much content I could put into a podcast, and I was thinking about doing it, but doing just a podcast feels, it feels like it's wrong without actually playing a game. I don't know what it is. I talked about doing a podcast a couple times per week, and just that's it, twice a week, and that's it, to cover current events, stuff with Fortnite. A Marshmallow concert, for instance, was fucking amazing. That was on multiple levels, not just the concert itself, multiple reasons. The Marshmallow concert was fucking amazing. But anyways, I was watching him stream, and I was watching him play the game, and he's talking about it, and he's like, oh, they had variants, or not, he didn't say they had variants, they had, how do you word it? It's basically the common way of referring to spread in weapons. Oh, the weapons have spread. And I was like, you guys should try? I was in an NDA with these guys, I was tight-knit with Apex, or now with Apex with Respawn, the guys who make Titanfall. If you didn't know, this is a game basically from Titanfall. As you guys will see some similarities while we're playing it. But anyways, they're like, I talked to the guys, and it's like, it would be good is if it had spray patterns, because spray patterns are just better. Who likes inaccurate weapons? Then you die to bloom, Like, it doesn't make sense. Why would you ever have spray patterns in a video game? So I told this to them. I told them to try it out, and then they put it in the game, and that's where it is. And it's actually the first time I've ever heard anyone in Shroud's chat say, or at least that he's pointed out, is that he wants to make every game like Counter-Strike, because it's basically it is like usually he'll offer some relatively good feedback, but basically he wants to make every fucking game Counter-Strike. And as I mentioned on oh, you know what I should probably do? Probably go under podcasts first. Stuff. But anyways, he's talking about it. He's like, they should add spray patterns to the game because spray patterns make everything better. And as I mentioned I mentioned the same thing on Twitter, because that is unequivocally wrong. It does not make everything better. It makes things easier. And one thing I've learned over the years, in addition to people being absolutely insanely biased when it comes to anything they need to be objective about, is they're insanely unfuckingly biased. And in the case of someone that plays Counter-Strike, basically the entire game, so my first experience with this game was actually absolutely tainted. It was watching Shroud play, and apparently he was in the closed beta. So, he actually had to, it wasn't closed beta, private beta, I guess it would be. I guess it could still be a closed beta. The private beta for the game, and he couldn't talk about it because he was under NDA and shit like that. And basically watching him play, this game actually looked fucking terrible. Absolutely looked fucking terrible. And that was my first experience with this game, was watching Shroud play this game. And he made the game look fucking terrible. Because all he was doing was using a pistol, and he was just one-clicking people with the pistol, just quick-scoping. And it's fucking stupid. Okay, like having guns, the reason you can have more than one guns is because there's gun balance, because there's pros and cons to each weapon, right? Things in Fortnite that no one likes, and they try to get rid of it every single turn, so the only guns remaining in the game is shotguns, specifically the pump. Only shotgun in the game that can actually be remotely relevant is the pump, and that's all they want. Basically, it's pump and peek. Fortnite streamers have bitched so much that they've turned the game back to pump and peek, and anytime anything new is inserted into the meta, I could talk about this for another, oh my god, for hours. But anytime anything new is inserted into the meta, they'll immediately bitch it down until it goes back to pump and peek. That's all they want in the meta, is pump and peek. That's it. Like I mentioned before I went on hiatus again, is that Fortnite really needs classic mode. It needs a classic mode for all those hardcore folks that really only want to play the original kind of the feel of the game, back before SMGs were actually competitive with shotguns, and they fixed that, by the way. Before SMGs were remotely competitive with shotguns, they want the classic game. They want a classic experience. They don't want anything new. They don't want anything different. They just want to do what they did originally that they're exceptionally good at. And, I mean, it's gotten to the point where basically the meta, I want to say, is killing the game. The lack of change to the meta, and it's not the fault of Epic, because Epic has tried changing the meta, and every time they've tried changing the meta, the big streamers have bitched it down. They've always bitched down new meta changes. They've always went back to pump and peek, and that's all they want. So much so that they've even gotten rid of, the heavy shotgun doesn't even exist in the game. They vaulted it because they added better shotguns that really no one, it wasn't needed. They're just better than everything else. So now you just have better pump shotguns that just make it better. I mean, it wasn't stopping people from using pump shotguns in the first place, which is a telltale sign of balancing problems. Is just when people don't use the weapon, then something wrong, and maybe you're like, maybe something's going on here, No, people were still using pump shotguns when the SMG meta was a thing. When before they added the legendary and the epic pump shotgun, there's a thing before they added their SMG assault rifle, which is the AK, just the heavy assault rifle, and they always want to go back to pump and peek, because pump and peek does two different things. It limits your, maybe is the wrong word. It increases your survivability, because every time in between the shots, you basically can put down a panel, which is another problem with the game is spam build. Um, but every time between pumping your shotgun, you can put down a panel, then you can hide yourself and protect yourself, and you can pump again. And what that does in particular is it makes it so someone that's lagging, low latency advantage once again, which I've talked about in my stream multiple times, it makes it so someone that's lagging won't be able to hit a shot on you because on your end, if you have a low enough ping, you'll have a panel down before they even get a shot on you. And it has nothing to do with the reaction time, it has everything to do with manipulating latency. And people in Fortnite have gotten so good at the game that they're fucking champs at min-maxing latency. They just don't know it. They're just really, really good at manipulating network conditions. And once again, I've talked about normalizing latency in Fortnite and adding more servers. I assume they're going to add more servers. I'm also pretty certain that they're on some sort of for it. They're locked in some sort of contract with Amazon. Exclusivity. They're in some sort of exclusivity agreement with Amazon. So probably until they actually fix that, they're probably not going to actually do anything. Like, they aren't going to add more servers, which is the only reason that I think they're locked into an exclusivity agreement was because when they talked about adding new Middle Eastern servers, and they said in coming months they're going to have options becoming available to them. And what that means is basically Amazon isn't adding new servers because that's a huge undertaking. There's plenty of cloud server providers. They're probably just going to be able to subscribe to one, which they probably weren't originally able to do because they had an exclusivity agreement with Amazon. Probably at the time it seemed like a great option, but as things come to pass, luckily they weren't signed in for too long. They actually have options now. It can throw their weight around, so to speak. It's kind of sad that they're signed into an exclusivity agreement because they really, really needed more servers. And even if they didn't add more servers, they could still normalize pings, which means bring up the low pings to like a normal baseline, normalized baseline based around the people that are connected to the game. And of course, it makes people with ultra low pings bitch and moan, but at the end of the day, you're making for a more even playing field. And this doesn't just apply to Fortnite. Fortnite is probably the most prevalent example of latency advantage in any video game in existence that I know of. It is hands down the biggest advantage through latency in any game because there's just so much going on in it. There's just tons and tons of shit going on in it. And that's why they eventually need to normalize pings. But anyways, Pump and Peak rotates around the fact that if you have a really low ping, you can pump, you can throw down a panel, and by the time the other guy responds to you, they're going to be shooting a panel, and there's literally nothing they can do about it. And by the time your shotgun hits next, like, you can fire it again, basically, they're going to waste shots on the panel, then you're going to go into the next shot, and, so forth and so on. So they've just become exceptionally good at manipulating ping, and that's very, very, very unfortunate. Very, very, very unfortunate. And that's why they want Pump and Peak just to be there. It's like Pump and Peak is a result not only of giving big streamers what they want, but also basically making big streamers what they are through low latency advantage. They just happen to be born, essentially, they lived at the exact right location with the exact right internet provider when Fortnite took off in 2017, 2018, They're in exactly the right boat at exactly the right time to take advantage of what was going on. And that basically comes down to luck. I made a pretty bitter and jaded statement, which is there's some Fortnite streamers that have become so successful, not only do they move new apartments, they buy houses. And then they move to a new house. And then they didn't have, they don't have the same internet they used to have. And it's funny watching. I was watching Lupo, I think it was last week. Yeah, it was like last week, like Thursday and Friday. I don't know what had happened, but he was streaming with like a 40 or 50 ms ping, basically what I had, and he was not doing very well at all. He wasn't doing remotely good. This week on Monday, he went away. He went somewhere for the weekend. I just happened to be watching him on Friday, so he went somewhere, which probably means he just took the weekend off and waited for them to install the new line on Monday, which is fucking hilarious. But I was watching Lupo, and Lupo normally has like 18 to 20 ms ping. He's pretty fucking far down, or he used to be pretty far down there. And when I was watching him stream, I don't normally watch him, but I was watching him stream last week on Thursday or Friday, somewhere around there. He definitely had a 40 to 50 ms ping, and he was just getting fucking owned. And I normally have a 40 ms ping when I play Fortnite. It's one of the reasons I stopped playing it, because you can't get ahead. There's no way you can make up for low latency advantage in Fortnite. It's a thing. It's just like so much so that like big streamers won't really talk about it because they know it makes a huge difference. Some of them do. They know it makes a huge difference, and even Myth occasionally talked about how he went and moved to his mom's place for like a week while the Fortnite skirmishes were going on or something. Basically, made another setup around the Amazon AWS servers with a fiber line because it matters that fucking much. And it's a pretty big deal, and it's kind of one of these things. It's like one of the Fortnite's best kept secrets, which people generally only know about if they're basically technically inclined, if they're observant, and it's not really something where the word's gotten around, because if you know about it, you don't want to tell anyone about it because it might get fixed or other people might take advantage of it. And I've talked about it for the last, basically since January in 2018, so over a year now. I've talked about low latency advantage in Fortnite, and I played Fortnite up until August last year, and then I just threw in the towel, and that's basically what killed streaming for me, because I actually realized that I couldn't succeed not only as a streamer, but also just couldn't really do very well in specifically a very, very popular genre, because there's a lot to do with your latency. And that's very, very disappointing. I'm not the only one in that boat. Some people just didn't notice that it was happening, but they also threw in the towel, like Summit, for instance. He is in Colorado, and he also had a 40 ms. He had a little less than that. He had like a 35 ms ping to the Fortnite servers, and that just was not cutting it for him. It doesn't work. You need to have at least 25 ms ping or lower. That's bare minimum to actually start competing with high-level players, and he didn't have it. And so he just thought he just really sucked at the game. He just got up and left. He went and did other things with his life. I unfortunately don't have 10,000 people watching me, so when I can't play Fortnite, there isn't really any interest for me to go and play Sea of Thieves, because I'll just be another streamer with like 10 people watching me, five people, or 5 people watching me, 4. Like, it literally, like, my bread and butter, the main things that actually keep me going in video games is first person. I need the competitive feeling. The last month, I haven't stopped playing video games. I've just been playing HOTS, a game that I can't stream because no one watches HOTS, no one cares about HOTS. And honestly, some of the games I've been in have been really, really, really fucking toxic. Like, it's not even worth talking to people toxic. I haven't talked about it a whole lot, but it's just really, really bad. Oh my god, Falsey, good morning. Yeah, it's been a while. But they've been really, really toxic games. And I mean, I've seen all sorts of things, but like the HOTS chat, Heroes of the Storm chat, if you watch it, it is horrible. People will reference like Baron's chat and WoW. Nothing, absolutely nothing on HOTS chat. HOTS chat was so bad. So fucking bad. Oh my god. How am I doing? Pretty good. As I mentioned, yeah, haven't been online. I do not know if I'll be streaming tomorrow. We're going to see how this goes. As I mentioned in my Twitter posts, I do, like, just kind of segue here off of what I was originally talking about. Apex Legends, I do not know if it's actually going to have any staying power, even though the gameplay looks interesting, the gunplay looks interesting, but it is limited to trios, and it's incredibly difficult to get good partners in, like, they can't do it. So, like, in a game like Heroes of the Storm and a MOBA, in a heavily comp-oriented game like Overwatch, where you're very dependent on your teammates too, you have a ranking system, and you can use a ranking system to get ranked around people. Of course, it makes it more toxic, and it takes away some of the fun, but at the same time, in this game, if you've watched some of the streams for this game, like, you got pugs, you have people that have no idea how to play the game, and then you have, like, people, like some of the streamers with their group of basically really good or veteran game, not elite, but veteran gamers who've played games for years, just get into the game and just absolutely tear people a new one. Like, they can 2v1 and something like 2v1 people, and then you have like 3 people in a squad. That's like 6v1, 6v3. More, actually, that's the wrong ratio. No, it's, yeah, like 6v3. Like, the teams have no chance whatsoever in most cases. And some of it chalks up to the game being new, and there is a learning curve to games, and definitely that actually takes a lot of the fun out of games if people get too experienced, which is why, as I mentioned, we could podcast this. I actually want to play the game tonight, so I could do this podcast for at least like 12 hours here. There's so much stuff I can talk about with you guys. Last time I was here, you're doing Overwatch streams, lol, change of accounts, here's a follow. Thank you for the follow. Falsey sounds familiar. I do not remember Falsey TV, though. Your name definitely looks familiar, though. Yeah, that was a long time. Overwatch, that was pre Fortnite, I think. Yeah. And after Overwatch, I think I did PUBG for a little bit in there too. Steaming piece of shit. But anyways, you just watch some of these squads. They just go around and destroy fucking everyone. And the only way, as I mentioned before, the only way they can actually kind of deal with this is one of two ways, because there's just no, you can't compete with, like, I could be really good and then you just have two people in your squad that are just fucking terrible. So, like, one of the things I definitely think is going to kill the game is the fact that you can't be a solo player and actually participate at your skill level. And then the other thing is, like, you have people of all rank, like all ranges, and you can compare this to other not MOBAs, other battle royale games, in that like, why does this game need to, like, two things they could do to fix the problem that they have right now, like, just right off the top of the cuff, off the cuff here, guys. Two things they can do to fix this with the super elite, basically hammer squads rolling around just destroying fucking everything, is make it so there's a solo queue, where you put in groups of threes, like it's a solo 3 queues. So basically, you go into solo 3 queues, it puts you in a group of 3, but everyone going into those games is a solo 3 queue. So there's no teams, there's no teaming in it. Basically, the teams are all ad hoc, it's all pugging. It's very easy to implement. The downside being, obviously, is that if you don't do that, you'll be thrown into the, which a lot of people do, you'd be thrown into the threes queue, which means you have to find 3 groups of 3 and then queue up with 3 friends. And of course, it'll take longer for queues, but you can play with your friends then. That makes it more balanced, and you won't have these hammer squads that just roam around killing everyone. Because from what I've seen, streamers, groups of just like veteran friends just roam around and kill absolutely everyone. Just absolutely everyone just dies. And it's actually pretty disgusting. And obviously the other answer to this is ranked queue, meaning you'll be put into a queue with ranked players, and then not necessarily, so like with a rank, you don't necessarily need to be matchmaked around people around your level. Rather, you could still have a mixed rank system with a pretty wide range, because there's 60 people in each game. This game has 60 people instead of 100 per match, 20 teams. So the opposite of that is a ranked queue, and even if there's people of mixed rank, even high and low rankage in there, so people of different skill levels, if you die to someone with a lower skill level, you lose a lot more elo. And what that means is your rank is going to self-balance, and you'll be, like, it's like an open rank system, not like Overwatch where you have games where you're fighting against people of your level. This game has multiple teams, and as such, it can have multiple skill levels and still have some meaningful impact on the game. I've not played. This is my first game of Apex. Everything I'm talking about so far off of Apex. This is going to be a first game tonight. Everything I'm talking about off of Apex is off of streams I've watched of it. Off of streams I've watched of the game. And good morning, sup, bro. But, like, the only way they can actually fix it is by making a ranked queue. So if you're actually playing against people of higher skill level, there's actually something on the line. Like, their rank is on the line. If you lose that game, you're going to lose points. And they obviously can make it, where you have people of similar MMRs in the same game, so then people will be playing against people of similar skill levels, right? So it's not just a complete shit show. And the more people playing the game, the smaller the gap you can make, because there's going to be more people queuing and you can more queues popping. Either way, you can make it so, like, people will be more competitive and more people will actually have a fighting chance in a game against people. So I won't just end up in a game of, like, a couple herpalerps and they have no idea what they're doing, or I don't have any idea what I'm doing compared to some other people of super elite players, and then we just get steamrolled by a three pre-made hammer squad just rolling around just shitting on everyone, right? So, like, two things they could do is make a solo trio queue, or just make a matchmake system, which the game probably desperately is going to need at some point here, because once people figure out that basically they're going to, unless you have a group of 3 friends, you're going to get shit on constantly. Once that sets in, the new car smell wears off, and you actually start worrying about how good you do in the game rather than just playing the game. It's going to lead to some amount of animosity. So it's something they're going to have to fix before this actually becomes a stopping point, which is what I mentioned before. Like I mentioned, my first experience with this game, watching someone play this game, was Shroud, and that was fucking terrible. I was just watching him use a deagle, basically run around and just one-digging people, and that's not good gameplay. But as I mentioned before earlier, when we first started with the stream, was that I was watching a squad and like watching his stream on like Sunday, and he mentioned how this game should have spray patterns instead of accuracy. Instead of accuracy in the game, there's spray patterns like Counter Strike, and I honestly think that's a fucking horrible change. As I mentioned on Twitter, when I was talking with someone else on Twitter in response to it, the levels of skill required to manage a spray is much higher than a spray pattern. Spray pattern's like having a laser rifle. Once you figure out the spray pattern, you basically know how the gun operates, and then you just that's it. So with the spray, on the other hand, with the cone of fire,
Long if I wish to serve under you, sir.
Spray, you have a couple things you have to manage. You manage your ADS because it tightens the spread. You can also change your... Oh my god! Thank you for the sub, bro. Oh my god, Falsey, what the fuck? 5 subs, Falsey! I don't think anyone's ever given 5 subs. Wow! Wow!
When in doubt,
oh my god, that's gonna
throw
play
more
for fucking...
men at it.
Okay. Let's turn off the desynced donation trigger. I still have not.
Long if I
this,
wish to
so...
serve under you, sir. Anoint them with their own blood.
Let's see here.
When in doubt, throw more men at it.
Okay. Okay. Never. Nope. No. Yeah, like I said, like because I don't have a lot of people watching my stream, there is almost no reason for me to stream, to be perfectly honest. Like when I stopped playing Fortnite and basically didn't have a first-person shooter to play, fucking change Streamlabs, and now I can't find the... What do they do with the dashboard? There it is. Is it still playing shit? No, I think it's done. Ah! Found it. Found it, guys. Oh, hey, look, it's done. Wow. Cool. Yeah, like, so, like I mentioned, I've streamed, like, to give you guys some perspective here, guys, and why I've taken so much time off, because I've streamed for 5 years, more than that. I streamed for 5 years, basically, like, a 40-hour job, straight, for 5 years. That's but roughly... like 25% of my life, I basically just pissed away. And then, but I haven't been streaming just for 5 years. For this year, basically I've been streaming off and on for months. Basically, I stream relatively relatively normal, like 40-hour weeks up until August when I quit Fortnite. That's basically when it was beginning to end. And like I haven't really given much care because it's like, you know, streamers say like, oh, I don't care. You know, it's just. Like, I don't care about success. It's nothing to do with the money. Also, these fumes from this Sharpie is definitely getting to me on my glasses here. It's not success doesn't matter to me, guys. You know, it's nice if you can make money, but really, it's all about the experience. It's all about enjoying streaming. That's bullshit. You know, it is to a certain extent. Like, you have to enjoy streaming in order to do it, but it is, at the end of the day, it is a job. And if you don't make money, not that you guys have to give me money, and I don't want to sound ungrateful for it, but for me personally, when I've streamed for 5 years of my life straight, I have streamed since August 2012. So this August I'll have streamed for 7 years. But I've streamed for 5 years of my life straight, and you know, an extra year and a half now on top of it. A lot of time. That's a lot of time, and just to give you guys perspective here, like it's one thing to say that you don't care if you're successful or not, but then you've put in the time. I've watched my channel grow. I've watched my channel get small, and some things have definitely become evident, which is if you aren't super entertaining, like you're sort of comedic relief. Some streamers are just entertainers, like Greek, AC Tron, Doctor Disrespect, CDN the Third. Where they just put on a show, right? And that's basically the main allure. It doesn't really matter how good they do in games. That's the main allure to their channel. Then they'll generate a crowd through that. There's a lot of reasons for people watching streams, but the other one is if you don't have an immediate, like, a shtick, so to speak, to your channel, you have to be able to perform, which is performance-oriented streamers, which are people watch you because you can perform well. One of the reasons a lot of streamers in Fortnite are so successful is because they can stream. Once again, this goes back to my jadedness towards low latency advantage, because a lot of people basically were given multi-million-dollar careers because of their ping. I've streamed for so long, and just to watch people basically, it's not really cheating because they aren't really the ones doing it, but Epic doing that and just not really giving a shit about it is kind of just grating. That's why I lost kind of the will to stream in August. Is like after I've talked about it basically since January last year, and in August where I kept trying just as I thought I could actually fix it. I thought I could do better. I thought I could build, but you are limited by your ping. Not just building, which is one of the things they've taken care of recently, by the way, is they tried to take care of client-side building is now a thing in Fortnite, in case you guys missed the memo, which is people can place their walls and the game will actually have a queue for them, which I don't fucking know why there wasn't a queue for in the first place. Just like sort of shit. Basically, when you build stuff, the game will actually try to place your stuff there, including latency. So once you place it there, the game will actually still try to place your tile there regardless of where your character goes. Like, it still takes into account where you've been, because one of the main parts of one of the main parts of... Oh, I forgot to... By the way... let's go 5x1. Wait, did you even give yourself a sub? Falsey, what the fuck? In fact, I found you again after your loss. So I was on my rant account, knowing how skilled you are in Overwatch, PUBG, with your smile on his face. I'm still a hardware tech person. Yes, I am. Yeah, like, kind of one of these things, like, basically people with a good internet connection were essentially just gifted streaming careers from now until whenever they quit streaming. That's, like, once you get thousands of people watching you, people will watch you just whatever you do. It really doesn't matter. And, well, Twitch said, not Twitch, Summit talks about how he's being a dying streamer all the time. He never was. He never was. I went from 160 concurrent viewers during H1Z1 down to, what do we have right now? 20 people. But I mean, I stopped streaming for like a month here, so like it just, when I was streaming Overwatch on a regular basis, I streamed Overwatch for a year and a half. I had about 70 people on average 60 people on average watching me. Then when I was streaming Fortnite and Black Ops, I had about 50, no, less than that, 40 people watching me, 50 people watching me. And then when I was streaming Black Ops, I had about 30 people watching me, and now we have whatever we have now. Yeah, so, like, I'm not trying to make you guys feel bad, but I'm literally, like, I'm talking from my perspective here. Like, why I haven't been streaming is because for me personally, when you lose like 25% of your life, guys, like, you actually you want it to go somewhere, even if you're like, oh, it's all about caring, it's all about community. It's nothing to do with success, it's just that you guys are here, and it is. Actually, at my point, basically, it's just people being here and talking is actually kind of a big deal because that drives community immensely. Fucked up with the banners in the background. Can you get? But anyways, like you actually want your channel to go somewhere. You want it to grow, and even if I don't have thousands of people watch me at this point in my life streaming on Twitch, I expected that I would have had at least a couple of hundred people watching me, which I don't. Which, as I mentioned before, there's a couple things I've noticed that drives Twitch content. If you're not an entertainer, shtick that does it for you, whether you're a boob streamer or a comedy streamer or you're a rage streamer or something like that. If you don't have a shtick for you, you have to be able to perform. And if you can't perform, then people aren't going to watch you. Performance drives, because the viewer base on Twitch is generally pretty young. And even if there's a bunch of people like Gloomy, Falsey guys, who are more older and more mature and maybe are interested in technology-oriented discussion and just random bits of shit. There aren't a lot of people like that on Twitch, and they're generally dwarfed by the young demographic, which is like teenagers, the teeny boomers, who literally, you can just watch the snowball on Twitch of just people basically bounce back and forth like it was Ninja for a while, and then Ninja's chat ended up on like Tfue, and then they ended up like literally you can just see them moving their free Twitch Prime sub around, and then they're on Summit's channel for a while during his Sea of Thieves little extravaganza going on there. That banner kind of hurts your eyes. It's like a film grain effect going on there. But basically you can watch them moving around. But if you don't have enough people watching your channel, then people can't find you. So even if there's people like you guys that you want to watch me, and I have a very distinct crowd of individuals that wants to join my channel, they won't watch me, or they'll get turned off because there isn't a lot happening in chat, or yeah, especially not having an active chat. That's a big one. People hate not having an active chat. Like there's something comforting knowing that people are spamming emoticons or something for some strange reason. There's a lot of people that, like, especially the young kids, get really antsy when they don't see an active chat, and they like where's the emote spam, guys, where's the emote spam? We need to communicate here, guys, what's going on, guys, I need to act like I'm actually doing something, guys, what's going on, guys, where's the channel, shit like that, where they literally end up in like this kind of like you just end up in a scenario where they just like get all angsty on themselves, and usually then they get destructive. By the way, when you have a chat full of people and they don't know what to talk about or do anything, they get really, really angsty, and they usually start like cannibalizing themselves. They'll literally start eating. A chat will just start arguing with itself. For instance, they'll make their own discussions, their own conversation. I've seen it happen in a lot of big streamers that aren't very good at manipulating their communities. Tim, for instance, is a really good streamer. Oh, that's another entertainer streamer, by the way. Tim is a really good streamer simply because he's really, really good at manipulating his community. I don't mean that in a bad way. Any public speaker, anyone that's good at public events, he's really good at self-deprecating humor. His community loves that. He basically just takes anything that he finds might be offensive about himself, and he just turns it into a joke. And then they can't really make fun of him. So Tim is really, really good at manipulating his communities, and people wonder why their communities can't be more like Tim's, because Tim's really fucking good at basically just fucking owning his community is basically what it comes down to. He's really good at not just giving people something to do, giving people something to think about, or making them laugh by making fun of himself. It's actually a few very key points to Tim's stream, for instance. Tim on Twitch TV, Tim Gammon, if you don't know him. A couple key points that actually makes him an entertainer, and it'll actually stop his chat from trying to basically harm itself, is what it comes down to, harm itself. And he does that by making people, like, distracting them from the fact that they're in chat, by making them seem like they aren't actually taking part in, like, something they have to participate, which you don't. If you're streaming, you can do whatever you want. I almost never chat on Twitch, ever, mainly because it doesn't matter, because if you look at any stream where people are spamming, what does your spam do? It doesn't do anything. No one gives a shit about what you're saying. So why would you generally spam? I don't know. It's like one of those things you learn when you're growing up, and you think by just, like, hammering the retweet button on Twitter that you're actually making a difference and someone gives a shit that you retweeted something. Sometimes, sometimes it's something interesting that people want to see, but someone says, oh, I farted and it smells funny, or I had blueberry pancakes for this morning, or look at my boobs, or thought, or, something like that. Like, it's just, like, the amount of people seem to think that what they say matters a lot more than it really does. And Like, I can sit here and yell into the void, and I actually do a fair amount of, self-scrutiny, of introspection. But just like some people will just sit there and pretend that they actually have to say something. If no one's saying something, it doesn't even need to be meaningful. Like, they want words to come out, and that for them is social. Like, it just, anything that's happening, if there's just spam in chat, it really doesn't matter what it is, because it just distracts them from the fact that basically they aren't participating in chat. They aren't really doing anything. It makes it feel like there's actually more to the channel than there really is. Like, some spam channels used to be really big maybe 2 years ago. They've kind of died down as people want actual communities. But spam channels were a really big thing. 3 to 4 years since I was finally here, and I was able to come back and find the stream again. It means you're able to connect 10 times better than a lot of people. It's performance content. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, like, my community's, basically my channel's so small. Yeah. My channel is so small, I can remember a lot of people that stop. And if you're here for any prolonged amount of time, and you actually participate for a little bit of time, like, just, you don't need to say a lot. You just talk a little bit. I generally know that you've been here, that's actually pretty sad in and of itself, because that means my channel hasn't really grown to the point where I just have a bunch of no names in chat. Thanks, Falsey. I fucking appreciate it, man. I appreciate it so much. Yeah, just like, this is in general why I haven't been streaming, is because there wasn't a game for me to stream. And honestly, I could have streamed HOTS. Would it have made me feel better? No, it wouldn't. Just the community, the Twitch community in HOTS is toxic as shit. The HOTS community is toxic as shit. And, like, people expect you to do well if you're streaming that. And, like, there's, like, weird, like, if you stream in a small community, people get really fucking pissed off when you pass them up in viewers. I fucking hate that. Like, where you're just like, let's just stream, guys, let's just stream. I want to be another streamer in this community, They get pissed off at you, and then they start talking shit. I've spent every small community I've been in. You last maybe a week before people start shit-talking you and trying to just, like, maliciously take or deter people from watching your stream. Take your viewers or deter people from watching your stream. Actually pretty fucking ridiculous. Just some of the shit I've seen on here, it's like one of the reasons I didn't want to stream HOTS is because I enjoy playing HOTS. I've played HOTS probably 4 or 5 hours a day, probably for the last month. Not even joking. Well, I haven't for the last couple days because I've been doing mining stuff, guys, by the way. Crypto mining is very difficult right now. However, I'm still crypto mining, and I've been taking care of a lot of shit. My car was in dire need of repairs. It's currently up on blocks right now in my garage. Because I need the shocks where the struts were going on in, the bearings, the strut bearings were going to, which makes creaking sounds, and it was doing weird things where the tires were skipping, and I need new tires too. It was like all sorts of shit was just happening all at the same time. I have a car that's around 100,000 miles, and that's where a lot of shit just starts going wrong, like old stuff that just eventually needs to be done. But it's like, the struts were going, and like I need new tires too, but I couldn't get new tires until I get new struts, because then they have to do a wheel alignment, and if I get a wheel alignment with bad struts, it basically just, it's pointless, because I'm going to have to get another one after I do my struts. Struts are like shock absorbers for your front. They're basically, a McPherson strut is a strut in the center, or shock absorber in the center, surrounded by a spring. You guys probably have seen them in some form at some point in your life, and they're attached to your knuckle, and it goes up and down like this. Anyways, I've had to replace it probably, I've known it's been bad for probably 3 months now, and with the roads and with snow so bad in Wisconsin, it's gotten to the point where I've had to take care of it because it's a driving hazard, and I was having problems stopping, and it was just a lot of things just waiting to go wrong, and I didn't have any money to do it until this last month. I didn't have any money to do it either, and now I got it all together, or I didn't have it all together. I got the stuff apart, and then I realized I need to order new parts after I got the whole thing apart. Like, I got some struts, and then I had to order, basically I saw the brake shoes basically need to be changed now too. So I ordered new brake shoes, and what was the other thing? Basically, I got it all apart, and I need new brake shoes, and I just might as well do the brake shoes while I have everything apart anyways. And I was going to do rotors as well, brake shoes and the rotors, and I don't think I'm going to do rotors because that's like an extra $100 right there, $150. Huh? Extra 100, extra 100 and probably $170 if I want to do my rotors too, and they don't really need to be done. They're wide enough, they're thick enough where still have plenty of wear left on them. I just want new ones for because they look nice. The old rotors I had weren't treated, so in Wisconsin with snow, they get rusty. It doesn't really change much of anything, they just look bad. So I wanted to get some like zinc-plated rotors, or electroplated rotors where they'll actually, like, they won't rust or rust nearly as much. Corrosion-resistant rotors, so they look pretty. But honestly, it really didn't matter, and that's kind of the point I'm at right now. Is I ordered new brake pads a couple days ago. Brake pads, and what was the other thing? Bellow. It's the thing that goes over the top of the strut, and my bellows have holes in them, which means dirt gets in there. If dirt gets in there, it fucks up your strut. So basically, if I put them back on, I'd have to take them apart again in probably maybe a couple years, because the dirt and grime would get in the strut and then just fuck everything up. I had to order new bellows, and as doing that, I was looking at the brake shoes. I was like, there's like a quarter an inch left or something. There's really small amount left on the brake shoes. I was like, I better fucking do those. And then I was looking at the rotors today. I was like, I probably should actually do my rotors too, but I was like, I don't really want to spend the money on rotors. It's some really cheap ones, but the whole point of doing rotors is because I want something nice, and that costs money. So crypto, I haven't heard that in a while. Yeah, because that's shit the bucket. Don't get into it. It's still in a really bad place right now, mainly because there's still a lot of hype around it. There's tons of really stupid people in crypto, guys. It's just, it is bad. Like, high risk ventures always attract really, really stupid people. Really fucking stupid. You'll get like 98% of the people invested in it will be fucking stupid as shit, like dumb as bricks. And the other 2% are smart people that, you know, are remotely talented and maybe have some sort of motivation, and they think that they can do things, you know, that no one else can do, sort of thing, like myself. And you basically have to fight against this 98% that wants to drag you down, and it is extremely difficult right now, because anytime anything good happens, it's basically, crypto's a lot about just knowing what's going on, a lot of intelligence gathering, a lot of knowing things to do and where to be at the right time. And with social media and the way things work right now, is people basically talk about things all the time. So it like, the information immediately disseminates. Like, the moment the secret leaves someone's mouth, the information disseminates, and it bounces around all corners of the internet by loose-lipped basically idiots that, like, the amount of money you make in crypto is based on how many people are mining something. A coin, it has a set amount of mission. The more people in it, it's a pie. The more people in the pie, the less you make. So basically, if you have a bunch of people gabbing about something, they all hop on it, and everyone just basically ends up earning the same amount of money, and just no one gets ahead. So we're at a point in time where people think they're going to make it rich, make it easy. Crypto itself has bombed. The markets have bombed. Bitcoin, once again, is on another downhill kind of slump at the moment, where it's still kind of tilting towards oblivion. And then people just they're highly prone to investment, meaning, that's the wrong word for it, but they're willing to risk a lot on a small venture, like a small piece of the pie. Like, if you actually get in, like, the amount of money you're making on GPUs right now, for instance, mining with GPUs, is, expect whatever they're doing. There's people that just mine coins and they'll hold on to them because the holder logic. They'll hold on to them because they think markets are gonna be worth billions of dollars in the future. You know, it's weird. There's tons of people like this who will mine a coin and they'll hold it. HODL, holders hold the door. You know, the meme. They'll hold it forever, and it just. But, like, when they do this shit where they mine, like, not only are they basically just not going to make any money because they're just basically betting, they're just playing the lottery. You don't even need to buy hardware to do that. You can buy crypto of any kind. You don't need money, or you don't need hardware to mine it. It's like idiots that have no idea what they're doing. They think they need to mine coins to own them, or somehow mining coins is going to give them more coins than if they just invested the money in their mining hardware into cryptocurrency, which is going to be worth billions of dollars someday. That, you know, they wouldn't make more money. It's really weird. With risk reward, risk analysis, people just can't do it, and because, as I mentioned before, people that mine crypto are the people that I basically am fighting against. Like, these people that just, they don't care if they make money. Is basically what it comes down to. They don't care if they make money, so they can't make good business decisions because they can't figure out how to make, like, they don't know how to make money. Like, they aren't making good decisions to make money, and it inherently affects me because I'm sharing the same rewards pools with basically people that don't care if they make money, and then they just expect to make money without actually caring to make money. It's something really, really, really weird and fucked up. But it's not uncommon for people just to mine coins and just hang on to them, even though the coins they mine are generally based on profitability. So if a coin is really big, when something's happening, if a coin's really big, they think that the coins they're mining then are going to be worth more in the future than if they mine just a random coin that's basically worth less at the time of mining, because mining only generates a certain amount of revenue depending on the difficulty, which is the amount of people mining it, and basically the mission of the coin itself, the emission. And there's just people mining it, and just no fucking idea what they're doing. But at the same time, I share rewards with people, so basically I have to fight against people that are really, really fucking stupid, that do really stupid things to try and make money for myself. And there's a parable in that to real life. You could draw your conclusion to people in real life, but in real life it's much more controlled because everyone kind of has a place and you can intrinsically see what you're doing. Where with cryptocurrency, you hold a bag of virtual money and then somehow it turns into billions of dollars and, you know, go to nowhere, right? Very weird place crypto's in right now. I wholly expect things are going to get worse with cryptocurrency now, unfortunately. But that's something I've been doing as well over the last month or so that I've been offline, as I've been taking care of a lot of my crypto shit, which I've kind of been neglecting, but crypto hasn't really been going anywhere, so it's not really something that I can put more effort into, and it always turned into a reward for me. Sometimes it's diminishing returns where there's some people that just spend time polishing a fucking stainless steel ring, you know, because they expect it to actually give them back money, and that's not really the way it works. I can't go blow out all my rigs, you know, all my miners every day, and it's like, oh, it's going to make me millions of dollars. That's like, there isn't necessarily a correlative relationship between work and money you're making. The same way with streaming. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm stupid for fucking trying streaming and cryptocurrency. Oh, like two high-risk ventures, guys. Elder Scrolls, Bitcoin going to oblivion. Yeah, it's not just Bitcoin, it's crypto in general right now. It's just kind of shitty. And, like, the market needs to shake out. People need to figure out that they aren't making money off their hardware. And, like, GPUs are producing so little currency right now that you're talking about, like, ROI, return on investment, in like 10 years. And you go, oh, 10 years is a pretty good investment, guys. That's a lot better than banks. You know, returning 100% of your investment in 10 years, that's not something you can do. It's not a bank, though. Cryptocurrency is not a bank. You can't buy hardware and expect it to work the same way just as well as it does for fucking 10 years. The stuff becomes obsolete in, like, 2. Like, hardware has, like, a half-life of, like, 2 years where it just becomes obsolete and just doesn't do what you wanted nearly as well as it used to, because new hardware comes out and replaces it. I'm not just talking about ASICs, which are specialized hardware made for mining crypto. Just talking about shit in general is just, oh, geez, guys. But yeah, like, but talking about Twitch, it's kind of disappointing. Like, when I look at my life and realize that I basically have spent 7 years, coming up on 7 years, streaming on Twitch, and it hasn't really turned into, like, it's a job. It was a job just based on the number of hours I put in, but it's never a job based on a paycheck. It's always been something where I haven't ever actually had enough viewers to support me in even a poverty-ridden lifestyle. And this has always been kind of a job for me. I've never had enough viewership and enough subscribers. Once again, not your guys' fault, because this is a channel as a whole, and part of it is because I'm not an entertainer, for instance. There's a lot of not shortcuts, but rather things I could have done as a streamer just to basically get a community. And I can't just hype up every game in existence, go, wow, this game's so amazing, guys. People love the hype men. They love people that make them feel good just about random shit. Once again, talking about the chat scrolling by, having absolutely no value or meaning whatsoever, but because they see it scroll by, they assume that what's happening in chat is good. It's right. But I've never been really, I usually give you guys the way it is. I give you the way I see it. I give you the lowdown, you know. I give you the unabridged, is that right? The uncensored version of what I think of something. It's not always good and it's not always bad. Like, I'm not a guy that's just always critical for no real reason. There's some people like that online. And They're so fucking funny. It's like the opposite of people that are the hype men. It's the critics. And I'm not talking about people that are meaningfully critical, but rather people that just act critical because that's their persona. And that's who people think they have to be. Is like if they're critical, they're obviously once again just talking about meaningless shit that scrolls through chat. If you're critical about something, that means you have something like worthwhile to say about it, right? But that's not always the case. Once again, that's not always the way things work. Like just you are just like big streamers, for instance. Like if you see a big streamer, just because they say something about a video game does not mean they're good at video game development, because they have a lot of people watching them. Being a Twitch streamer is completely different than being a good gamer, and it's completely different from being a good game designer or developer, and they don't always coincide with each other. Anyways, talking about Apex here, I thought Apex was a piece of shit once again because I was watching Shroud stream it, and all he was doing was using a hand cannon and running around and just braining people with it, and the game looks so incredibly unfun. And then I heard that there's basically spray patterns on the weapons, and basically what that means is weapons turn into stat sticks. Counter-Strike has two weapons, and neither of which you can use on the same side. You have an M4 and you have an AK, and you can only buy one or the other depending on the side. The rest of the weapons are filler, throwing a little sprinkle of opping. But basically, you have AKs and M4s. That's not good gun balance. Like Counter-Strike, like Shroud, for instance, wants every game to be like Counter-Strike because that was his pinnacle of his life in his mind, was playing Counter-Strike. It was the best game ever, and it's not. It's an old, outdated game. It's seen its glory days. It's been there. It's been there, multiple times over the years, and it's gotten to the point where if you try to make every game like it, it's just you're not going to have good games. Like spray patterns are shitty because there's so much more that goes into accuracy other than just moving your mouse and clicking a button. I mean, you could just make every gun a laser rifle if all you want is this. All you think in a video game is aim is the only skill in a video game. You just make every gun a fucking laser rifle. Why even have gun mechanics on the guns? Just make it a laser rifle that does 100 damage and you instantly die if you get shot by it. Because other things go into making a good game other than just having insanely accurate weapons. Because that doesn't make a good game. It makes a very boring game. Hence why not a lot of people are, I want to say not a lot of people are playing Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's not a dead game, but Counter-Strike is a monolith. It is not something that'll ever happen ever again. It's a game that basically hasn't changed, and the community gets pissed off if it does change in the last 2 decades. It's something that hasn't really went anywhere, and that's why people like it, is because it's just the original game. And so that's why people get bored of it, why streaming isn't really working for the game, and why people really don't give a shit about it. The only reason it's still remotely relevant on Twitch is because the big streamers always talk about it, mainly because a lot of them are from a Counter-Strike background. They lived and brought up in Counter-Strike. I'm a Tribes guy. I lived and brought up in Tribes, but I don't try to make every game Tribes. I'm not I don't want to make every game Tribes because each game is different. Each developer, whoever makes the game, tries to think up their own ideology, their own way of, making a game, and they aren't all supposed to be the same. So why is having a spray pattern in a video game bad? Because in a game like Fortnite, for instance, just off the cuff here, in a game like Fortnite, there's a lot more that goes into aiming than just clicking the button. Your movement determines how accurate a weapon it is. How fast you burst fire the weapon, if you burst fire the weapon at all, determines how accurate the weapon is if you hold down the button. Versus clicking a couple times, depending on how fast you click the button, determines how accurate the weapon is. Whether or not you're crouched determines how accurate the weapon is. Depending on if you're jumping, determines how accurate the weapon is. We're already talking about multiple ways. So in Counter-Strike, you have one thing that matters, which is you learning this. Well, I guess 2 things: you learn the spray pattern, and then your aim. And I guess if you include aim, there's a difference here, and we can keep going on. There's also effective range on weapons in. Well, I guess there is damage fall off in Counter-Strike. It's not really that big of a deal. Depends. I think that's only on shitty weapons. Actually, thinking about that now, I don't even think there's damage fall off on AKs or M4s. It's just on the shitty weapons, like shotguns. There's just the weapons you use as filler. Basically, damage fall off determining your engagement range. Damage bullet drop. Apex does have bullet drop. I've seen it, and this game has a very unique way of showing you bullet drop on your weapons. You can actually literally see the projectile falling because it has a contrail that is a contrail that inherits your momentum. So it's kind of weird. People are still trying to figure out how to work the weapons, and once they do, it'll become very intuitive. It's a lot like weapons and tribes, where they inherit it's either inertia inheritance or momentum inheritance. I forget which it is. But basically, the weapon itself inherits your strafing, your velocity, and such. So it actually changes the way you have to aim your weapons, and it actually adds a really cool, unique facet to weapons. And it's not really something in Fortnite at all. Yeah, even the projectile weapons don't have that in Fortnite. But basically, you have a lot of different things that go into just gunplay, just firing your weapon. And Counter-Strike has the same two they've had for years. And why is this bad? Shroud, why is this bad? Because you're playing with, like, you're like reliving your Shroud's like 24 too. He's 25. So like he's reliving. I mean, he could have been fucking 4 when he's playing the game. I played Source when I was younger. I didn't really play 1.6. I played a little bit of 1.6, but mainly I played Source when I was younger, and then a little bit of Go. Not nearly as much Go as I did Source, so played a lot of Source. And it's just an old game. It's old, it's broken, it's outdated. So when you like developers, because he has the ear of developers, because he has a lot of people watching his stream, and like I mentioned before, it's actually kind of unfortunate, and it pisses me off to a certain extent, because as I mentioned before, it would have been nice after all these years, guys, after all these years I've been streaming, it would have been nice if I actually had a viewer base. And once again, it's not your fault. It lays a lot of the blames on me for not making compromises and for not trying to basically just jerk off. But then I wouldn't care about game development nearly as much if I just give hand jobs to everyone that walks into chat. But like, just it kind of pisses me off that you have big streamers that have no fucking idea what they're talking about, that give advice to game developers, and game developers will listen to them because game developers are not prone to humans too, right? It's like you're saying your parents are human, because they're human too. Even if they're your mom or your dad, that does not exclude them from life or from fitting into tons of different categories that may not be they aren't good at everything. And that's what I was getting to, is they aren't good at everything. But like, it kind of pisses me off that you have video game developers that listen to big streamers, some of them, especially smaller video game companies, because they really want the big streamers to like their game, so they'll play it more. They'll listen to the big streamers and take their feedback, regardless of how logical or reasoning behind the rationale behind it. They'll take in the feedback. Fortnite's been relatively good about avoiding that, but even then, the game's about pumps right now, so it's back to pump and peak. So even if I want to say they did a good job, they obviously didn't, because anything that changes the meta immediately gets scraped from the game because big streamers bitch about it. So like Fortnite, as I mentioned before, they really need a classic game where they can push all their old fogies that really want to play pump and peak. They can put them in their own group into the classical game mode, and then they can keep evolving the normal game mode, because those people are never going to be happy. They're never going to be happy. It's like, but they had planes, and people were bitchy about planes, and then these Sharpie fumes getting to me, maybe. There's one. It wasn't the sword. The sword that was November. That was the winter skirmish. The sword. But yeah, the plane is something people were bitching about. And what was the other thing? Other thing that people were really angry about. It was the new thing to be angry about. Oh, Marshmallow Concert, by the way, was really, really good for multiple reasons. I think we're going to save that for another night. I do want to play Apex tonight, so I have to kind of meter what I'm talking about. Zip lines is kind of a weird thing. I don't know why people get so pissed off at zip lines. I think it's because they accidentally jump on it and it kills them. balloons for a little bit there. It's funny they still haven't figured out balloons. They're basically jetpacks. Hilarious. Um, shit. A lot of patch notes we can cover here. Oh, they added the new silenced sniper rifle. We didn't talk about that. The hand cannons. Oh, the new thing they bitch about is hand cannons, because hand cannons are basically sniper rifles that have none of the downsides of using a sniper rifle, which is kind of fucking stupid, which is what I originally talked about when the hand cannon was first introduced into the game. And then they upped the damage on it. I was like, it's a good basically breaker for building the building breaker. And people are using it as basically a sniper rifle now instead of a sniper rifle. They've added a lot of, like, people want a weapon that's good at everything. I've talked about this before. People want a weapon that does everything well, and it really, really ruins gun balance when they want something that does everything. Basically 100% accurate, no kick, no recoil, does lots of damage at range, and, people, it always, like, shots always connect. Basically, they want laser rifles. You can basically sum up a lot of suggestions people make as laser rifles, where they just want everything to be everything, good at everything, basically. Like a Gatling laser rifle that's 100% accurate and does damage at multiple ranges. At all ranges, same damage all ranges. The ice grenades added. We'll cover the patch notes, guys. Here, as I mentioned, I do want to kind of just ease into this here, so I do want to play Apex. The whole reason I'm streaming tonight is because I want to play Apex. So, vaulted a lot of weapons. That pressed SMG is very, very accurate. Edit, hindsight editing. I think people just went back to bitching about Bloom. It's actually always Bloom, guys. It's not always Bloom, by the way. You can watch replays. I've talked about this before. When people say Bloom, they're generally sometimes it's Bloom, but usually it refers to hit registration. Their bullets not registering on the player. You can see bullets actually go through the player and it doesn't register. Back to low latency advantage. Basically, they play against someone with a low ping and they get fucked by it and they don't know it. They don't know why they get fucked. Oh, they added artillery piece. This is gonna piss off. This is gonna piss off hardcore players so much. Another thing that destroys buildings, guys. Taking all the skill out of the game. No skill, guys. No skill. Look at me hold mouse 1 when I spin around in circles. Or just hold mouse 1 and think that it's going to make you invulnerable forever. It's my favorite one is when people are in 1x1s. By the way, just our team in fucking Fortnite has always been so fucking good. God, some of the shit they add to that game. They've done it. They aren't Blizzard. They aren't Blizzard, but they do a really, really fucking good job. They're taking everything out of the game, guys. God, they're taking all the skill out of the game. God, I'm so pissed off at this game. It has nothing to do with me streaming this game 12 hours a day for the last year and a half. Nothing at all. God, it's just all this fucking shit they add to this game that just changes everything. It's so bad. And actually, lo and behold, one of the reasons they get bored of the game is because they aren't adding new shit. And one of the reasons they keep adding new shit is because people get bored of the game. Imagine MOBAs if they didn't add new heroes. Yeah. Because adding diversity, adding new and different ways to play a game, making the game feel different and unique is actually part of what keeps playing the game. Well, big streamers are bitchy. It's like big streamers are just fucking weird as shit. Like, they don't realize that, like, one of the reasons they keep playing the game is because, and other people are still interested in the game, is because there's constant content that keeps coming out for it, and it constantly changes. They want it to stay the same, but they don't at the same time. They want everything to not stay the same while staying the same. Very, Very weird conundrum they have going on here. Yeah, when we were talking about Apex, so one of the things, I guess going back to earlier in the discussion, guys, one of the things that's going to start weighing on people here is basically they're going to get steamrolled by pre-mades, and they, like, unless you have your own pre-made, you kind of sucks. I'm actually interested to see what data centers they're using. We're going to figure this out here in a second. I haven't actually read anything on which data centers the company is using. Wraps down here too. We'll figure this out. Hopefully, it is something in Chicago. But Fortnite is really the exception. There aren't many games that are nearly as Lancy bound as Fortnite is. It is kind of interesting though. And when I'm playing HOTS, I can tell the difference between playing on West or on Central, just based on how responsive players or my character is. Wraps it forever. Does? So I've messed around a little bit with settings here. I haven't really changed much of it. Looks like they limit your FPS to 144. I don't know why. I guess they assume the highest FPS monitor is 144 hertz. It's not. By the way, Apex, Respawn, you guys did Titanfall. You should know that. Kind of disappointing, by the way, is the fact that this game in no way, shape, or form has incorporated Titans into the game. I think that is actually very, very disheartening, and I really hope in the future they add a game mode which does incorporate Titans. Another thing that Shroud hated was Titans and Titanfall. And especially with a squad-based game mode, you could definitely, you could add other game modes, and this is just the beginning of the game, so it's entirely possible things are going to change, but you definitely could incorporate Titans into a Battle Royale game mode. 150% could incorporate Titans into a Battle Royale, especially with teams. You could have one person in a Titan, other people in the team supporting the Titan, riding around on the Titan. A lot of really, really fucking cool stuff you could actually do with Titans. And one of the things that I really enjoyed playing Titanfall, I didn't play Titanfall 2, I played the original though, and it's unfortunate that Twitch eventually got to the point where it cannibalized Titanfall. Basically, big streamers figured out that they weren't good at the game and then just started shit-talking it, and the game itself was really good. They just found all sorts of reasons to hate on the game. And the funny thing is, years later, they go back and play it again, like I've watched Lyric go back and play Titanfall, and talk about what a fun game it is. Titanfall 2, what a fun game it is. Yeah, Twitch does some really weird shit sometimes, and it's like being a hipster. Sometimes it's just really cool to shit-talk something when it's hyped up so much, so high, and you realize you'll never be good at it, so then you just flip the opposite direction. You're like, oh, this game's actually not that great. Actually kind of sucks. Titanfall has some of the smoothest gameplay. Even it's one of the things people say about this game, and one of the things they say about this game is Titanfall has some of the smoothest gameplay, smoothest transitions that I've ever seen between a mech and a player in any game I've ever played. Is Titanfall, hands down Titanfall. And people are like, oh, it's like shit they don't realize back when they played Titanfall. They now realize today when they're playing a game that's basically built on the same engine with some of the very similar assets. Like, that was one of the hallmarks of Titanfall, was just how smooth the game was. And it was addictingly smooth, much like other games like Overwatch are, where it is just incredibly just liquid. It just feels like it's just flowing into you. Very weird to describe. Very, very, very extremely fluid. Like, just animations, everything in the game just feels like it's supposed to be within a certain extent. Titanfall was extremely, extremely good at that. And why the game was so good was because you could just go between a mech and a player, and it felt like you weren't really changing at all. It never felt like the game was actually transitioning. It felt like you're just going through one action to another action, even though you're going to incredibly different aspects of the game, and changed how you interacted with the game completely. It just vastly changed your play. Some of these options here we're gonna have to turn down. But yeah, I hope they eventually add mechs to. I hope there's a mech game mode. I really do. I mean, they could reuse their assets from Titanfall, no problem. And like this is definitely, there's definitely room for it. And you just make it a side game mode. But I would fucking enjoy the shit out of that. Streamer mode. Gameplay. Oh, that was the other funny thing. I was watching. Fortnite added new streamer mode options to the game. They basically changed it. So Fortnite made it so. Two things with streamer mode. They made it so you can turn off whether or not other people can see you, and your name, and you can turn on or off whether or not you see other people's names. And for some reason, some people just didn't think that having other people's names displayed on the screen actually it wouldn't, like, you don't need to do it because it wouldn't stop streaming. Like, part of the reason people stream snipe you is because they love seeing their name pop up on your screen, and it gives them a little joy and little butterflies in their stomach when they kill you. It's actually one of the reasons people stream. It's a driving factor of stream sniping, advertising, or just getting that little bit of recognition about who you are and what you're doing with your life. Yeah, just seeing people turn that off in Fortnite, and then like I was watching Tfue play. Probably is like 2 weeks ago. I tweeted about it, but I was watching Tfue play Fortnite, and he wasn't hiding his drop screen, wasn't using a delay of any shape or kind. He'd have streamer mode on, and he would insta queue every single time he's done with the game, and all he would do is bitch about stream sniping every fucking time. And you're like, sort of shit. You're like, oh, guys, this is so trash. This game's so trash. All these guys just charge right at me. You see all these guys landing around me, you know, and he does nothing, absolutely nothing to try and stop it from happening, or a Q delay. He doesn't use a Q delay either. Nothing to try and stop that from happening. And it's just, I don't know. Like, it's like mining, guys. It's like fucking mining cryptocurrencies. Like, just some people just don't seem to understand what they're doing and how they've actually become successful. Very weird. Better question is, what makes big streamers make content motivates them? If the answer is for the grind or to make bucks, then you can't even grind. Like, my stream is an example of how streaming doesn't have, it's a lot to do with luck. You can't just grind. It's not just all about grinding. That's a misnomer, I think is. Yeah, there isn't a grind for streaming. You have to be relatively consistent, because you'll develop, basically, like you mentioned, being a night owl, you'll develop a viewer base in a certain category, and they might not just be awake; they'll be at a job at a different time when you stream. So you can't stream all over the place. Within reason. I mean, people are there's a lot of flexibility depending on how long you're online for, but like, it's not just a grind. Just a grind. Definitely a misnomer. Yeah, it gets way too realistic. Yeah, I think it's part of it. Part of the reason streamers say they don't do it for the money is because viewers don't like. Basically, never talk about your viewers as being viewers. I've learned that in the past. If you're a viewer watching a stream, never talk about your viewers as being viewers, because then they realize that they're a number, and then people don't like being numbers, and people don't like being used for money. You know, no way anyone would ever stream for money. It's kind of a weird thing, guys. Is I'm a big fan. I've talked about this over the years. I'm a big fan, especially the older I get. Is look at people's actions. Don't listen to their words, because words are easy. Words, you can say whatever the fuck you want. You know, I'm a fucking unicorn. I can just fucking prance across the sky and be the president one day. You know, fucking all sorts of shit, right? You know, I can say whatever the fuck I want. I mean, I guess Trump's the president right now, so maybe that's not that far-fetched. But, well, I guess if I'd ever be a president and it's going to be a desert, if you guys have seen the weather lately, by the way, yeah, the planet, I think, is going to shit itself in, like, probably the next 30 years. I'm pretty sure. Not to be one of the, you know, death criers, the world's going to end, but I'm pretty sure our planet's fucked. And I'm not saying that and create animosity. So get your fucking corn dogs, get all the corn dogs you can, because our planet's pretty screwed. Our planet is pretty screwed just based on the weather patterns you guys have seen. This isn't something that's normal. I live in Wisconsin, guys. We're gonna segue here for a bit. I live in Wisconsin, and let's see, was it Monday? It was 50 degrees outside. Last Monday, so 2 days ago, it was 50 degrees outside, Fahrenheit. And Thursday, it was negative 20. And I don't usually freak out about how cold or how hot it gets. You know, you have that. But the way temperature works is it doesn't do spikes. It doesn't go like this. It goes like this. There's trends. It's slow and gradual because that's the way weather works. There's patterns to it. And if your weather starts going like this, where it starts looking like your heartbeat, there's something really, really wrong going on. This summer is going to be fucking terrible. Probably in like, I don't even know what weather's going to be like in 2 years. Like last year, for instance, the crazy bit of last year for Wisconsin at least, the crazy bit in Wisconsin last year is, like, I don't normally talk a lot about weather because it really doesn't matter that much. Weather is just something that happens around you, but weather is a good indicator of what your environment's like and what things are going to be like. Last year, the crazy bit about weather was we had relatively a little snow, but in December, we had 2 weeks straight where it was negative 10 to 20 degrees outside, which is that's pretty cold even for Wisconsin, especially for a regular basis. It was negative 10 to 20 degrees outside for a couple of weeks, and it was like it happened and passed, and then it was in May. I think it was either the end of April. Oh, beginning of April, I think it was. There was a freak snowstorm where we got like 2 feet of snow, a foot and a half of snow in like 24 hours. Just, it was like 40 outside or 50 outside. It was like warming up. It was like springtime, and there's like grasses growing and shit. It was green, and then we got dumped on by a foot and a half of snow just in a day, just out of nowhere. Just pop, there's snow everywhere. That was fucking weird as shit. And now this year is where we have super wild fluctuations. Snow is not uncommon in Wisconsin, so it's not. Once again, this is one of the things. It's not about how cold or how hot it is or how much snow we're getting. It is about wait for it. You're talking about the distribution. You're talking about the variance in the distribution of weather, right? So you're talking about the changes, not just how cold or how hot it gets, but how fast it's changing, how often it's changing, and like the frequency of the swings. Basically, if you're looking like an oscilloscope, going like this, you want something more like this, where you got cold season, you got hot season. One of the reasons I love Wisconsin, by the way, even though basically this is redneck central up here, is because we get all 4 seasons. This is actually great. I like having winter, because if you're just like in California or like Texas, and it's basically like lukewarm bathwater your entire life, I couldn't handle that. That'd drive me crazy. It's like being in an isolation chamber where it always just feels like it's the right temperature, and that's not the way weather works. It's not the way life works, Everything, you have your ups and downs, you have your pros, you have your cons, and some people like winter, some people like summer. It goes back and forth, right? But anyways, really weird thing, and why it kind of bugs me is because I don't think there's been any other especially recently recorded instance, if ever, of where the temperature swings like 100-degree temperature swings besides like a desert. And that's a bad sign, because the rest of the world isn't a desert. They have 18C here at night. I literally see some people quit Twitch because they haven't been making enough living. Girlfriends leaving them, or they ain't able to sustain their lives. Yeah, that's I couldn't sustain myself off Twitch. There's no way. Absolutely no way. And it used to be one of those things where I get angry at Twitch for not providing enough resources for people, to kind of get themselves out there, and they still really don't do that good of a job. Mainly they care about the big streamers because they do make money. I don't blame Twitch for that. And it took them a long time. I mean, I've been partnered. Basically, I streamed for 2 years before I was partnered. But it took them so long to get the affiliate program, which I don't really understand. I've been around Twitch for a long time, and I realize that just basically what happens to my channel really doesn't influence anyone else's channel, more or less, because I'm not big enough. I've never really been big enough to do that. You can literally, there could be boob streamers on here and they can make all their money off, showing their tits off. I really don't care. They could have a masturbation section on Twitch. Honestly, wouldn't really care. It would kind of change the tone of the platform. Probably you could say something to that effect. But if you're getting your rocks off to someone that's dancing and like wearing lingerie, who cares? Honestly, it really doesn't affect me. So like, indie streamers or whatever, it never really crossed my mind, which is like, it never really struck me as something that's wrong. To be perfectly honest, like I don't honestly care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me. Like, it's people that get freaked out. People that get freaked out by like boob streamers and get angry at them. Why? It's like, I don't really understand it. Who cares? People, like, this has always been my stance. Is like, if you're beautiful in life, people are gonna like you more. You're gonna get paid more money. You're gonna make more. You're gonna have a more successful life. You're gonna have a more successful career. Your children are gonna be more beautiful because your fucking genetic material built into your body is better. Just everything, like, it's just, it sucks. That's life, Like, I wasn't born with perfect teeth, for instance. I didn't get braces though. But like, a lot of life comes down to opportunities, and like, it literally does not affect me if someone is going and watching someone show off their boobies somewhere on Twitch. It honestly does not. People from my channel are not giving their subs, well, for whatever little handful of subs I have on my channel. Whatever handful of subs I have on my channel, people just don't really, like, I'm not losing subs to a boob streamer somewhere. It isn't like every month, oh god, we lost half our subs, guys, because fucking Caseytron showed off her goddamn cleavage again. Why does she always do that, guys? I don't fucking understand this. Like, fucking gives a shit. People that watch Caseytron aren't gonna watch me. Or well, maybe they will, actually. Maybe they will, but it's like, I'm not actively fighting with her for subscriptions. It's actually pretty ignorant and adolescent view on Twitch, is if you think like you're fighting with a boob streamer as a normal streamer or anything, whatever category. I'm not a huge, I think I'm an entertainer, but I fall under the category of interesting, informative, and semi-educational, and with depending on the game, a decent dose of pretty good gameplay, especially analytical gameplay thrown in. Which is it's a driving point for me. It's one of the reasons that I did so well when I was streaming H1Z1, where I could analyze stuff, is because I could perform well, and I'd have decent commentary on top of it. And that wasn't something I got with Overwatch, for instance, because Overwatch was heavily based on your class. When I got up to Grandmaster, and I was Grandmaster for half a season in Season 3, which is, I'd argue, is probably one of the best, the high pinnacle points of Overwatch as far as the amount of people that were playing that game. Season 2 and Season 3. It came down to the fact that I wasn't duo queuing, and I was playing a very select range of characters, which was Mei and Pharah at the time. And in order to actually do well, you basically have to play the characters of the moment. So if I ever went back to Overwatch, as I discussed before, I'd probably play tanks. Because everyone up in Grandmaster is like a fucking aimbot, and it's incredibly difficult to play a Pharah unless you have a heal bot. So basically you duo queue with someone like a Mercy, who just flies around and heals you the whole game. That makes things a lot easier. A lot easier. And if you watch some of the Pharah mains back in the day, and even today, that play the game, they generally dual queue and they have someone that heals them. Like, there's just some games you end up with where, like, they're playing an Ana and they can't aim. And if you're flying around as a Pharah, and you have this Ana down here, who's like fucking doing this shit, I've actually seen when I was, like, in certain elos, like when I was down, like, in Diamond for a little bit, I generally, like, when I stopped playing Overwatch, I was sitting in Masters because I didn't really care that much, and honestly, like, having experienced Grandmaster, I wasn't really in a hurry to get back there. But, like, the bottom end of, like, Masters and, like, getting into Diamond, just, like, people become so unskilled. If you fly around as Pharah, you just have people that won't heal you. Like the best healers are like a Lucio, because you can kind of hover in their bubble. Whereas if you play, like, there's Anas, I watch Anas try to shoot me, and you see the darts just go everywhere except my character, and like they eventually get frustrated or something, where they just will stop trying to heal you. So then you have to go and sit there next to their character and ask for healing before you actually get healed. And sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll just ignore you because they just, like, give up on your life or something. They're like, I'm not going to heal you anymore. Really fucking weird. It's all this fucking, it's like, if you're actually, like, you pay attention to what's happening around you guys, you just run into some really fucking weird shit. Like Overwatch, that was, like I said, there wasn't really, like, that, and also while it's not Fortnite, latency still matters in a game like Overwatch. The lower your ping is, the better you'll actually do in the game. Because projectiles are definitely correlate a lot to how, when you click the button, when a projectile appears on your screen, it's not a hit scan weapon. When the projectile appears on your screen, is basically how fast you can react to people and how well you can lead them is determined by your latency. And at a certain point, if you don't have a low enough ping, like your projectiles, you won't be able to mid-air people. Big deal with Pharahs, especially with high-level Pharah gameplay. Especially against other Pharahs, because they'll always fucking try to shoot you down. It's all about shooting the other Pharah mid-air, because it's weird. Pharah is like one of the worst heroes. Once again, segue off Apex, Pharah is one of the worst healers or heroes to fight against another Pharah, because they use a slow projectile-based weapon, which makes it kind of pointless to actually do that. But like the way flying works in Overwatch, with flying in any game, is anyone that flies has a really, really big E-ping dick, guys. This goes with any game. Like Battlefield is the same way. If you fly, you'll always get some fucker that's also flying that always tries to shoot you down no matter what. It's like it's like one of the most aggravating things. It's not just Fortnite, and it's not just not Fortnite. It's not just Overwatch. It's not just Battlefield. When I was playing HOTS, Heroes of the Storm, sometimes Blizzard does this most aggravating thing in the world. They'll turn on mirror matching, which means some games you'll get into, they'll have identical heroes to your own. And I fucking hate it. I hate mirror matching. I hate it so much. Because you always get this one fucker that is playing the same character as your fucker that always tries to dick on your character. It blows my mind. Like, I was playing, like, one of the most aggravating things to play in Overwatch was when I was trying to tank and play Reinhardt, is when there's another Reinhardt, he'll always try to fuck with you. Like, that's all he does. Is like there's like, you know, there's like clothies moving around, not clothies, like, you know, low HP heroes moving around, and he'll just try to swing and fuck with you. And you're just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I'm a tank. I have a bajillion HP. You missed your charge. You keep trying to fuck with me. Look at all these other guys next to me. Like, it's just like they just always try to 1v1 you. It's like there's some shonen ideology. But anyways, it's worse in any game where you can fly. 100 times worse, guys. If you flied in any game, in Overwatch, if there's another Pharah, they'll always fucking try to shoot you down, no matter what. And I got extremely good at dodging, and that was one of the things, is kind of because like Pharahs aren't really good at shooting down other Pharahs. Hit scan heroes are in completely another ballpark, you know, like a soldier or what's her name? Not Catherine. Why do I keep calling her Catherine? Basically, the new hero with lever action. I forgot her name because I haven't played Overwatch in forever. Or even Anna is pretty good at shooting down Pharahs, or McCree. You know, other heroes that are really good. If there's a Pharah flying around, she'll always try to fuck with you because it's a dick slapping contest. They'll always try to sit there and just hit that against you. Yeah, just right in the face. Oh yeah, just rub it all on. It's just, oh yeah, just slap it up against her, you know. And they'll spend like half the match trying to shoot you down. So one of the things I actually figured out in Overwatch was that you could actually expend a decent amount of time just flying around in Overwatch, keeping enemy Pharahs occupied by not shooting at them. It's like winning by not fighting. It actually makes sense if you think about it. So if you're actually pretty good at flying, and actually, I'd say 2/3 or 3/4 of Pharah is actually just flying properly. Like, using her weapon's not that difficult, but learning how to fly with her and actually stay alive is actually very difficult, especially at higher elos where people can aim properly. I haven't played the reworked Pharah, by the way. They changed her like last month, I think it was. I haven't played reworked Pharah. Maybe December is when they changed her. However, a lot of it has to do with just flying around and avoiding things that kill you. And in the case of Overwatch, just dodging projectiles. So if you have a Pharah flying around trying to kill you, you can spend a lot of time trying to kill enemies that otherwise can't avoid your rockets. So if you have a Pharah flying around, especially if she has a Mercy, she's going to be extremely difficult to kill. So at high-level gameplay, I would oftentimes have Pharaohs trying to kill me, and basically all I do is ignore them, and maybe give them one or couple kills. Not really give them, because they would eventually kill me. It's without saying, you know, they'll eventually kill you. You can't avoid it forever. They'll eventually land shots just by random happenstance. I really hope this Sharpie dries and doesn't smell so toxic. Disgusting. By the way, this helps immensely. If you guys have clear lenses like this, you have the if you have the rimless glasses like this, if you take a Sharpie and go around the edge, oh my god, it helps so much with reflections. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. It actually kind of looks cool too. Like if you look at someone with like, it looks like I have like really thin frames on. It's actually pretty cool. If you look at the side, it looks kind of black and weird, like a black. It's like a tinting around the edge. I just took a Sharpie and went around the edge with it because the reflections where the light's beaming off there and going into my eyeballs was pissing me off. So I just I Sharpied the shit out of it. Something satin would probably be better because Sharpie's kind of glossy. Something satin would probably would have been better. But anyways, if you play a Farah and you fly around, they'll eventually kill you. The other Farah will eventually kill you. But it's one of these things where if you keep doing it enough, they'll either get bored, and then you can kill them, by the way. They'll get bored, and then you shoot them down. Because they aren't paying attention to you anymore, and that's when people let their guard down. That's perfect time to fucking shoot them in the back. Give up there, you know? Or they'll get bored and they'll play a different character because they spend half the match basically trying to kill you. Because Farah, as I mentioned, is inherently just a bad character to use against another Farah. She really sucks because she's using a slow-firing projectile weapon. It's a rocket launcher, right? And rocket launchers are great against ground targets or anything squishy on the ground. But they'll spend a lot of time trying to shoot you down, and that's a lot of time you can spend shooting the enemies. You'll give up some kills to them, but you'll be able to do a lot of work before that happens. I think biplanes are pretty neat. I hope you don't mean the ones in Fortnite. I actually think the biplanes in Fortnite are actually pretty necessary, to be perfectly honest. Like we were talking about earlier with big streamers not liking anything new or that changes the meta in Fortnite. I 100% think they should keep biplanes in Fortnite forever. A couple things here, guys. A couple reasons for that is because the spam build meta is so stagnant, it actually deters a lot of people from playing the game. It's actually, there's not a lot of skill involved with just shitting out panels as fast as possible, especially if you see some people see the building videos that they show people to train them how to do it. It's literally a set of patterns that you do, and then you just take over an area, you shit out panels everywhere, and then you just edit them. You just edit different panels in different locations. Spam building in Fortnite is actually something that's quite a bit out of control, and it's something that people think Fortnite is only spam building, and that's the only redeemable quality to Fortnite, and it's definitely not. It's building is a major part of the game. It's a major defining factor of Fortnite, but it's not the only one. And spam build is still definitely out of control in that game. And what the biplanes force people to do is actually to move around. It actually forces people to reassess what they're doing in the game, because not only can people just move around, it's different ways of getting to the zone. And you could go, oh, they can just fly, they can loiter around the air for the entire match. Yeah, well, you could sit in a 1x1 for the entire match too. Just like the professional scene in Fortnite is a symptom of the problem, which is it's not what's wrong with the game. Like the pro scene is definitely not what's wrong with the game, but pro scenes in any game will always take whatever horror strategy is in the game to the maximum. They'll take that fucking horror strategy and they'll just go fucking straight forward with it. Sometimes people are like, oh, I'm not going to do this because it makes me look bad, because only bad players do this, because it's kind of, a noobish thing to do, like using an RPG or something like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use a pump shotgun. They'll actually just, say, fuck it. It's, you have fucking $50,000 and like, you're going to fucking use an RPG. Fuck that shit, But like, the professional scene just shows you how broken building is in Fortnite, especially with the, going back a couple skirmishes, where people are just sitting in 1x1s. It just shows you how overpowered building is, where there's no real actual counter to building. There's no real way to counter building besides building yourself. That's like, and even then, that's not really a counter to building. It's just, you're like spamming so much till you, like, half of it's just losing the player. Like, we could go back, I could just recount the world about what's wrong with Fortnite, but I'm not gonna do that because I eventually want to play Apex tonight. But I've been gone for so long, guys. I turned on the yak box and I'm still yakking here. But like, just like spam building, it's just like all people do is just shit out tiles as fast as possible, and there's no limits. Like a lot of things, like guns have like if they're really fast firing, they'll overheat. There's pros and cons of doing it. There's never any downside to building in Fortnite ever. There's never a downside to it. Normally games have mechanics like a gun has so much ammo, and well, you can say, oh, you have, you only have so many building materials in Fortnite. Yeah, you have 3,000, and in the pop cups now you have 1,500. That's an insane amount of building materials you almost never run into. If you're maxed out, you're never going to run out of building materials. Fucking crazy. It's just, it's one of those things that I don't think any big streamer will ever agree with me on, who plays Fortnite regularly, but I do believe there should be a stamina gauge in Fortnite for how fast you can build, for how long. Eventually you run out of bricks and you have to wait for it to build back up. So you can burst out panels, but it forces you to actually be efficient with your usage of building materials. Your usage of your gauge. It's something no one will ever agree with me on that probably plays Fortnite and high-level player in that game, because all they do is spam build, and they can't understand the idea of playing the game without just shitting out materials everywhere, just expending as many materials as possible. And that's kind of disappointing. Like I said, Fortnite's, well, besides low latency advantage, which they're trying to take care of, I want to say, with like the client side building, which is now a thing in the game, but that's not it. That's like, building is not the only thing that latency affects. There's a lot of other things in the game, like hit registration, how well shots land on you, so other players' hit registration, or just absorption, I guess you could say, how well your shots register on other people, so hit registration, projectile spawn rates, responsiveness of your pickaxe, combo timers, switching between weapons, pulling, or having something pop out. A lot of things in that game that are latency bound. And two things I think could actually kill Fortnite. One is listening to the high-level streamers, not the mainstream streamers, the big streamers for Fortnite that have no idea how to make a good video game, that just want what they originally were good at, because people are highly biased. If you make your who you are in Fortnite by doing one thing, you'll want the game always to be about that one thing. Pump and peak, you'll always want the game to be about that one thing, 'cause it makes you look good, and they know it. One of the reasons that people watch them for the most part is because they can perform. We're just talking about performance and how it affects your Twitch career. They know that how good they look depends on how many people will watch them. How many people will watch them depends on how good they look, and how good they look depends on how many people they can literally just fucking face, slam their dick into their face. And that depends a lot on your latency too, that's why Ninja isn't really looking too good. You guys watch Ninja stream and you go, oh, Ninja isn't performing nearly as well as he used to. Ninja's not the same guy anymore. A lot of Ninja has a 23 ms ping, and that used to be really good. And why did it used to be really good? Because there weren't that many people playing the game, and Ninja's a fast learner to begin with. He's not bad at games in any way, shape, or form. But what happened is so many people started playing Fortnite that instead of being at the end of the curve with outliers and him occasionally encountering someone that is a low ping, now it's pretty common to run into people, at least one person per game, that's going to have a lower ping, like 20 ms or less or something like that. Low pings are actually pretty uncommon. You have to be close to the server, you have to be on the right ISP. It's a lot of just rolling the dice. So ping is very, very prevalent on your location, your locale, how far you are from the server. And you can't fix it. There's nothing you can do to change that. That's one of the reasons I lost kind of my will to stream, is because I can't reduce my ping. I could spend like $1,200 a month on a corporate fiber line, could do that, and lower my ping by 10, and instead of being at 40 ms, I'll be at 30, but I'll still not be anywhere close to 20, which a lot of the big streamers are at. And Ninja, for instance, used to be skilled, and he had a low ping, and now, people have gotten good at the game, so he's not just skilled, other people are skilled as well now. And then because you're filling in this curve of a distribution with all these outliers at the lower end here, you're going to eventually end up with pretty much people with low pings in every game. So Ninja's advantage just disappeared over time, and of course it influenced how well he does on Twitch, because Twitch and Fortnite in particular is very dependent. How many people watch you is very, very dependent on how well you do in the game. A lot of games are like that on Twitch. Fortnite is very, very much, it's a shonen ideology, guys. It's a younger viewer base watching. Oh, I've watched a ton of different TV shows and anime. We'll save that for another time, though. But you're basically, who watches you on Twitch and Fortnite is highly dependent on how good you do in the game, because it's shonen. ideology. It's a bunch of young kids. They're all about, I want to be the Hokage, guys. I want to be the Hokage. I'm gonna be the Hokage when I grow up. You know, they want to be they want to be fucking Goku and throw that fucking spirit bomb. You know, like a lot of the driving factors of watching shonen anime, just being the best, being the pirate king, being the top, right? Being the top person, and even looking past just youngins, just people like in general, like seeing the best, right? The best players, the best gameplay. Very large driving factor for people watching. For me, for instance, one of the reasons I didn't stream is I could have streamed single player games, but they don't do it for me. Like me as a person, I actually really like playing against people because it helps me strive to actually get better. I thought about being a single player streamer. I thought about like Dan's Game. I thought about it over the years, but it's not me. I enjoy playing single player games on occasion, but that's not all I enjoy. I enjoy the thrill of actually having competitive gameplay. And you can't do that. And then, like, furthermore, like, the games that I wanted to play weren't games that are good on Twitch, like HOTS. Watch HOTS. Toxic, too, on top of it. So, I can tell something like Apex showed up, or I was going to wait for Division. There just wasn't any driving factor for me to play on Twitch. Not just that, because people won't watch me if I don't even know if I'm going to be good at Apex, to be perfectly honest. As I mentioned, I'm not a fan of 100% accurate weapons, and this game looks like it has that. But it also looks like, even though the weapons are 100% accurate, they do some shenanigans with the projectiles to make it harder to hit shots with the guns. And people become much, much better at that as they get better at this game. Two things, it seems like projectiles are pretty slow. So when you pull the trigger and you fire a gun, especially for snipers, it takes a while for your shot to get to a distance, which means people have a chance of actually getting away. And it also looks like movement is very, very fast in the game, which means you have a chance of dodging people, which are things that you can actually help save you. So while you have 100% accurate weapons, they kind of take a different take on it. So even though there isn't a spread to guns, there is an accuracy on weapons to a certain extent. There's still recoil and shit. You know, we're Shroud's bitching about recoil and shit like that. The projectiles themselves actually kind of make up for it because you have to do different help lead. And even if you lead perfectly, someone could juke a direction and you'll just miss the projectile because you can't. A lead projectile is if the two targets meet going in the direction. Someone could just go like that though, and the projectile. Right? Which is one of the things I noticed and one of the reasons I'm starting to play. But anyways, what my first experience watching Apex was watching Shroud play it. That was a horrible idea. I watched him play that game, and it was like some of the guns are definitely not balanced. Like the hand cannon's fucking broken as shit. Kind of disgusted, to be perfectly. We'll see how this goes. And I don't know if I'm going to do good in this game, but unless I had a game where I could actually try and succeed at on Twitch, like there wasn't really any point. Like I could stream, I could do a podcast, but if I stream a podcast and there's only a handful of people watching me for podcasts, and basically back to square one. But it just felt like a whole like just repeating the wheel sort of thing where I need to have a game where I can actually try and make myself bigger on Twitch is basically what it comes down to. Because if I don't, there's other games I'd rather do. There's other things I'd rather do with my time, and it's kind of a big deal. I'm kind of going in a circle here, but that's basically where we're at right now. Is one of the reasons why I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow, guys. We're going to see how this goes tonight. We're going to play this for a couple hours here. Obviously, I still have stuff to do later today. As I mentioned, I got a lot of shit going on right now, including trying to fix my car. However, my parts aren't arriving till tomorrow or Thursday. But I have stuff to do in the afternoon. Like real life things. It's actually surprising how much 25% of your day can make up. You know, that's 6 hours, guys. Because basically, if you sleep, you have like sleep, eating, shitting, and the overhead and just involved in that, where it's just gone from your day. And then if you talk about me spending 6 hours streaming on top of it, that's like half my day. That's like half of my usable time in my day that basically is gone to streaming. If you like, it's only like if you talk 5 to 6 hours, it's only like 25% out of a 24-hour day. But if you talk about like your livable life experience in lifetime, it's a lot more than that. Unfortunately, that's why it kind of weighs on you, especially when you start thinking about it, guys. It kind of gets to you when you actually look at stuff like that. Let's see. I think biplanes are pretty neat. I agree. Although I think that was rhetoric, or you're being this. One of my friends had a laser surgery after he got mad for not being able to drive well. They actually feel 100 times better. The only difference I'll never see them with cool glasses. Always comfort zone for everyone. Doesn't matter if you're good or bad genetics, as long as he's a person considers what he's doing in life good. There's a path for them. Yeah. Yeah, that's... Yeah. Never compare yourself to outliers, guys. Like, never do that. Like, you're baseline, and you can go above and below the baseline, you know? But if there's someone out here like Stephen Hawking, they're kind of, you know... They're a little bit special, and yes, you can do all sorts of different things. I've thought about getting LASIK, and I've considered I've considered a lot of things on. This is the shitty thing about Twitch, guys, is there's a lot of stuff on Twitch I've talked about first, and I've wanted to do, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who says it first. It's whoever is basically the biggest who says it first. And you know, like I've thought about getting LASIK before as a trend on Twitch. Some streamers, like, it's something I've considered probably for a decade, for close to a decade. And I actually kind of like wearing glasses, to be perfectly honest. I think glasses are a very defining aspect of you as a person, is what kind of glasses you wear, specifically your frames. People will see you with glasses, and they'll look through your glasses, and they'll kind of just not notice your glasses for the most part. But these make up a big portion of who you are, and, like, people's outward appearance. For instance, I have like 4 different frames, guys, and contacts, and I've worn them all. And how people will address me and look at me in life depends heavily on which frames I'm wearing. And for instance, I have long hair, guys, and this isn't something you can just straight up get rid of. But for instance, if I have it tucked in my jacket because it's cold outside, if I have it tucked in my jacket and I'm wearing a hat, you can't tell I have long hair. People act very, very different around you than compared if they can see you have long hair, if they see you have any sort of facial features, you know, beard on, you have a goatee, full patch or something. There's a lot of things in life that actually define you as a person, like change how people approach you and how they act around you. And glasses, I actually kind of like having glasses. That, and there's some weird things with glasses or with LASIK where, depending on how thick your cornea, I think it's your cornea, they basically burn off part of your eyeball and it never comes back. You can only have LASIK done. LASIK only lasts for so long. You can only have it done so many times, repeated so many times, depending on how your eyes change. You could end up wearing glasses in a year. There's no way to say for certain. Most of the time when you get older, your eyeglasses don't really change much. After you went to the optometrist, it didn't really change. But it can change depending on how fast things change over time. It could change fast, it might not. You might be wearing glasses next year, you might not for 10 years. You might never wear glasses ever again. However, if you get things, it's cataracts, it's glaucoma or something. But anyways, they have to actually shave off part of your cornea or something like that, and you can't actually have it done if you have LASIK or something. It's some sort of weird disease. Something I've considered, though. But yeah. Yeah, Stephen Hawking, so, like, it's like, Stephen Hawking, there's probably other people that are disabled that also have, like, doctorates, and plenty of people that probably are disabled and have doctorates to a certain extent. It's just he's popular. He was well known. It's like talking about Twitch again. It's like Ninja, despite how many people hate Ninja, is basically like a representative for gamers. Not really. That's not necessarily a bad thing, regardless of how much you loathe him or want to be like him. Is actually more or less probably what's like. You want to be like him, you know. Not actually bad that Ninja exists. But anyways, guys, I think we're gonna play some games here. Play some games here, guys. There's some Apex tonight. But anyways, as I mentioned before, like, one of the downfalls I think of this game, if they don't iron it out right away, is that I don't think